let's talk about the utility stitches on this sewing machine. You have quite a few, from doing blind hems to doing mending, gathering. There's some great ones, plus some decorative stitches. So we're just going to kind of work our way through a couple of my super favorites here. First off, we're going to do A, but we're going to do the one in the stretch area. So we're turning the stitch length dial all the way to S1. And now when it says A in the window, it's going to refer to the stitch A on the lower part of your stitch selection area. Now you'll notice it's got 3 stitches next to each other. I love to show this on denim folded on the bias. What it's actually going to do is take 2 stitches forward and 1 stitch back. Notice you don't have to set anything else up other than setting it to tell it you want what stitch, here and here. This stitch is a triple straight stitch. And I like to show it on the bias because number one, it's very strong. Each stitch has gone into the exact same hole as the previous one. And when we pull on it, it has the give. Remember, these are all stretch stitches. So they'll work on knit fabrics or areas that are going to have some give in them that you need. So this is great. It also looks very professional. You'll find that you have a look of top stitching thread without having to switch to a top stitch needle or to a thicker thread. And what if I wanted this nice purple thread? I don't think they make it in the top stitch color. So yes, you can use this. Also, there's a zigzag version of it. Actually, B is the one with this off to the right needle position. But if we just go ahead and switch it all the way up to C, the widest setting of the zigzag, this will give us a nice look. It almost will be more decorative. I've been known to use this with variegated threads and have a fun look with it too. So I'll just sew a little bit. Again, remember, if the needle or the take-up lever is not at the highest position, turn the hand wheel till it gets there before you lift up the presser foot and pull this out. Look how fun that looks. It almost looks like rickrack. And again, can't you see that in a variegated thread? That will really impress your friends on your next project. Okay, how about when you want to do some stitching with elastic? First off, with elastic, I always recommend a stretch needle. So remember, in your packet, you do have a stretch needle in there. And what we can do, we're going to go to letter D. That is a multiple point zigzag, and I've used that in a variety of different ways. We're going back up to the top row here. So we're going to go ahead and set it for a longer stitch length when working with elastic, because once you get a couple stitches taken here, maybe like 2.5 here. Give the elastic a little pull, and what it'll do is start to gather that up for you. Really, you just need to guide the elastic down the front of the foot. The more you pull, the more it will gather. How easy is that? Can you see that on a little cuff or something? And then on the back side, it kind of looks like it's been sheared there. All right. That's one way to use the multiple point zigzag. Another one would be for some mending. Have we ever seen where we've got that little clip in a project? You've got a hole started. Oh no. All you need to do is put some interfacing fused onto the back of that. For today, I'm just going to fold the fabric in half and kind of so it has something to stitch to. Shorten this stitch length all the way down to between 0 and 1. We want these stitches to go back and forth, but not separate or not space out very quickly here. We're on D and D, short stitch length. And really what I'm going to do is kind of start on the left side of this particular stitch. As I stitch down, I'm kind of near the rip, but not really on top of it. Hold the reverse button down next. That is going to give you some serious stitching down through that area that's been opened up. When you're ready, kind of move the fabric off to the side and back up again. Can you see that done for, say, a little boy's knees that he's always ripping? Just iron on a nice piece underneath, and you can just slide that opening of the pant leg right on the free arm of the machine and then work back and forth. And just put as many stitches as you can over that area. And when you actually match your thread to your fabric, you won't see it at all. It's really kind of neat there. Okay, let's do a blind hem is next. Your stitches E and F on the top row are for blind hems. E is for a fabric that would have some stretch or give. But what we're going to do is actually just do the F, which would be for fabric that's like for woven fabrics. That would be like a nice pair of slacks, maybe a wool skirt you're doing. And it's all in how you fold it. Plus, we're going to put on the blind hem foot. So we're switching feet, touch the little piece on the back, drop that off, and switching to a blind hem. Now, there's an adjustable guide on this foot. So with the movement of the wheel, this white blade, our guide, will move in and out. So I'll show you how we're going to get that set up. First, let's pick our stitch. So we're going to F. The stitch length, I'm going to start around 2.5 there right in the middle. And the next is how we fold the fabric. The key in the fold is that first you press in the new hem. So if that's going to be a shortened hem, we've cut it and we've pressed it in and that's finished. Next, what we're going to do is take and fold this back. I'm going to start over here. Have the hem over here on the left side and take the whole fabric and peel it back. Expose part of that leftover seam here, and we'll overlock that edge later, or like this is, it's pinked. So that's one way you can actually go about having that edge not unravel for you in the future. Now, as you get started, here's what we're gonna do. I know you won't be able to see all the way down here, so I'm gonna talk you through it. As you start stitching by hand, the needle's going to be on the right side for about 4 stitches, and then it's going to jump over to the right side. The right side's where it'll be on the right side, then it'll jump to the left. And as it bites into this fold here, you want a little tiny stitch, not very much. The first thing I'm going to do is keep turning my hand wheel, because the machine is mechanical. We don't know where it is within its sequence here. Okay, there's 3 and 4. And there's the jump. See that needle swinging all the way over? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to position that right above the fold. Now, this guide has not been set yet, so I can lift the presser foot, move my fabric, and I'm setting that fold so it's underneath the foot and underneath that needle. When I lower that needle down, I want to catch just a little bit of the fold. I think I'm still a little bit big. Smaller the better here. All right, sink that needle down. Now what I'm going to do is move the guide so it's even with the fold, even hugged up against it just a little bit more. Now all I have to do is guide the fold here next to the guide of the foot. And then I should be getting a very accurate, see how we're doing here. I might have cut it a little close, we'll see. Okay, that all the way up. All right, that's what it looks like. See that little tiny bite came into the fold of the fabric? When we open it up, we will see little tiny tick marks. Wow, that was actually got a little too close. I'd want maybe just a little bit bigger bite. This is a little fluffier fabric, so I have a little bit of a leeway there. But as you go, you want to have nice consistent bites all the way across your fabric. So if you find that even though they're bigger, but they're all the same size, that's ideal for what you're working with. The finer the fabric, you'll want a smaller needle, so it makes a smaller hole. And all you need to do is just catch just a hair or two of the weave of the fabric to make for a nice blind hem. All right, we'll set that one aside. We've got a variety of other stitches here that we're going to play with. First off, let's talk about how we could add some ribbing to a neckline on, say, a knit t-shirt here. We're going to go ahead and use a standard presser foot. There is an overlock foot, which I would recommend, but for today, we're using the feet that come with the machine. We're going to actually pick stitch letter G, or G on the top row here. And as we set up for our little neckline, I'm going to just have you cut a small kind of corner out of the knit fabric. Next, we're going to take our ribbing and fold it in half. As we lay this up here, what we're able to do is put all 3 raw edges together. Now this stitch, as you can see by its picture, it's going to stitch on this side and then it's going to jump to the right. As it jumps to the right, my goal is to keep it lined up so the stitch on the right goes off the edge of the fabric. That's going to help overlock the edge and make it so it doesn't unravel. Not that knit unravels very much, but it's nice to have that secure edge. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to pull on the knit a little bit as I stitch, just on the ribbing part. I'm going to take a few stitches to see how I'm lined up here, liken it as I go. Maybe shorten the stitch length just a little bit. All right. Notice I'm keeping the white ribbing right in front of the foot. I'm not trying to kind of push it around to go even with the curve I've cut. Just go ahead and have that done. This is a great one to use like on bibs or on, like if you're making a bib, you've cut a hole in one of those towels and then adding ribbing around the opening. That's awesome to do. This is very fast, great little gifts for new moms and easy to do. Let's take a look at this stitch. The threads here. There we go. Okay, so the key to this stitch, you'll notice that the stitches on the left side are going to create our seam. So that seam is all done. So we've seamed it and overlocked it all at once. Has the stretch and give that you need and definitely has that nice finished edge that you're looking for within a seam. All right. A couple other things that we can do. One of the ones down in the stretch area, D, down here, we'll go back a couple letters, D, and we'll adjust the stitch length as needed. This can almost be done as a fun hem, especially on knit fabric. You stitch from the top side, you always get a better feel. But this is kind of a honeycomb stitch. Oh, I do need to switch over to the stretch stitches here and all the way down. Perfect. Okay, let's take a look here. Any of the stitches down on the lower row would have the stretch and give, and you can see that that has a nice finished seam. If I could sew straight while I'm talking here. But that would finish off the edge. If you've ever seen where it kind of looks like a cover stitch, which is the 2 rows of stitching, if you actually go back, you can clip this away and then have a nice even stitching right on the back side there. Go. And then it'll be nice and even on the front. All right, let's play with some decorative stitches here. We have a foot that we have in our accessory bag that's got a cutout on the bottom. The satin stitch foot is a foot that allows for that heavier stitch like J down at the end here with the little scallops. We're going to set that up, but they're going to be very heavy stitches. By having heavier stitches, we don't want them to kind of get caught on the foot. Your standard foot that only has a little groove out the backside. This is going to have a completely cut out, and so not to hang up at all. Love this foot for any time I'm doing satin stitch, some applique, that type of thing. All right, put my threads underneath the back of the foot and take a look here. We're going to go all the way to J, so top row J. We also want to make sure that our stitch length is very short here, from 0 to 1. That's the buttonhole range. We'll do buttonholes in a separate video so you can watch those. And we're going to J. Good. With decorative stitches, you definitely always want to have 2 pieces of fabric. Doing it decoratively on a single layer, make sure you put some stabilizer on the underneath side. And then that way your fabric's not going to crinkle up as you go. All right. So what I'm going to do is just stitch a little bit and see if I need to shorten the stitch length at all to get a really pretty satin stitch. While I'm stitching, I'm going to shorten it as I go. All right. Since these are little tiny scallops, what I'm going to do is just watch, and as I kind of get to the end of a scallop, I'll kind of stop the machine. There we go. We'll see what we have. Now, the shorter I make the stitch length, the more compact they'll be. So if you want them a little longer, you could actually use some thicker thread if you want that to fill in, or I think I got it a little too close here, but definitely fine. I like the middle setting. That's the best one. When you test out on your fabric, you'll always find which setting is going to be best for your project that you're working on. You know, one more fun one down here at I. I'm going to switch back, and down here at the lower I, the feather stitch. The feather stitch is nice, and I'm going to just use the same foot. If you're doing any stitching down of quilt binding or just doing some crazy quilting, it's a great way to go around and applique too. Gives a very nice look. I'm so glad they put this stitch on the machine because so many people are always looking for this one. All right, let's take a look here. Isn't that pretty? That's a fun stitch, and it's a quick stitch. Do you notice how much faster I was able to sew when I did this stitch versus this one? You can cover a lot more ground when you pick a decorative stitch that is a little bit more open. Now, some of these other stitches you can use for decorative work. Put some variegated thread in, stitch them all out. See how pretty they can be, so you know for future projects how they can be actually used.